What is up, kinfolk? Before we get started with the video, I just have to say a huge thank you. We went from literally having only 100 subscribers to 1,000 in just 7 days. It's been crazy trying to respond to all you guys' comments. I'm the only one who runs this channel, so please don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my head. And I'm glad we got new kinfolk in the family. So once again, thank you guys so much. Now, regarding this video, this was a 15-minute interview I condensed down to 15 minutes. It's with my older brother, Rod, my actual kinfolk, talking a little bit about male and female dynamics. If you guys really enjoy this video, you let me know in the comment section. Maybe I'll put a unedited version up, the whole unadulterated 15 minutes up for you guys to view. But like I said, this is only going to be 15 minutes long, so I'm not going to delay any longer. So without further ado, let's get into it. I went into like my watch later videos, right? Which is like a compilation of all these videos that I want to review, but I haven't yet. A lot of them were how a woman would rank a guy, right? So like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much money he make, what kind of house he got. I was curious because I'm like, all right, well, what's the male equivalent of that? So the only thing I could find on YouTube was all ways that men were rating a woman based off attractiveness. Women, we have he has to have this type of job, he has to make this type of money, but I could not find anything where the guy was like, okay, she has a nice face, but here are all the other criteria that would help her in her ranking. At least for you personally, when has the attractiveness like worn off? Because at some point it will, and then other stuff starts becoming more important.
I think that the honeymoon phase on looks purely alone, for me, lasts anywhere between 4 months to 6 months.
Okay.
Then after that, character becomes crucial. I've dated chicks that were like 10s, and after 4 or 5 months, it's like, yo, I can't stand her. And guys will be gawking like, yo, she bad. Yeah, but she got a bad attitude. And that's the problem.
At the 4 to 6 month mark, when you have kind of, you're over the honeymoon phase, did you still stay with this person? And if the ranking changed in your mind, what were some of the things that made it change?
First, I think we need to start with intention, right?
Okay.
So most of the time, and what are the classifications that we're talking about here? Because when we say like a man is ranking a woman or rating a woman, it's all based off of what his intention is for that woman at the time. Okay. If this guy is seriously pursuing a relationship, the way he rates this girl is going to be different than how he would rate a girl that he's just trying to smash. Now, you're not going to be in a relationship with this person, so anything outside of that is irrelevant.
So she's like a 1 for the relationship, but like 8 for smashable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What were some of the things that attracted you to Alicia initially, as well as what are some things that she held on to? Look at you smiling. This is so cute. I'm sorry.
So what initially I would say attracted me to her was, she's a beautiful woman, first and foremost. That in and of itself can do 2 things for men. That could either make you intimidated, right? Because you're thinking, well, 100 guys are probably hitting on this chick a day, so I'm not going to be the next one that she just, respectfully, no thank you, right? Or that could make you be like, oh, I'm gonna go try to bag her, right? For me, it was the opposite. I just got out of a really crazy relationship, so I wasn't trying to pursue anyone. When I saw her, though, I was like, wow, she's really beautiful. Now, her level of friendliness, too, is another thing that, attracted me to her, because we would talk, and she was intentional with me as well. She would be like, hey, are you good today? Like, you don't seem like yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I'm chilling, I'm cool. She's like, no, I don't think you're all right. And I'm like, all right, well, I got this thing going on with my ex. She did this, and this, yada, yada, yada. And at this point, I'm trying to figure this thing out. And she was like, oh, okay, can I pray with you?
And this is just from a friendship perspective.
This is a friendship standpoint. So I'm like, okay, she believes in Christ. She believes in God. That's huge. That's something that mainly attracted me to her, because at the bare minimum, she's not looking to relationships in the carnal or the cultural mindset. She's looking at it through a scriptural mindset, which then leads to the second part. She's one of 2 people. She's either one of those really fast church girls that's religious and, sleeps around, or she's like a really like wholesome woman. Okay, so she has a strong spiritual belief system, right? She's a wholesome woman, good morals, both parents. She had siblings, so she understood like the dynamics of having a brother and a sister. That was also important to me. She knows how to rest in her femininity while still carrying herself with respect, which is another thing that attracted me to her also. So there's a lot of dynamics. I could talk for hours about it, but those are a few things.
So I kind of want to go back to the point of why, for you, do you think that having two parents in the household is very important?
There's a few things, and I'll relate them to the single mother household first. Okay. What I've come to find out in the single mother household, and let me be even more specific, because there are some dual parent households that it might as well just be a single parent household. In my experience, what I've seen is girls that are raised primarily by their mother either become extremely aggressive, which can be very great in the business aspect, but it typically fails in relationships. They can become super dependent to the point that you can't do anything without them, or they resent men. I've seen all three. None of those things are going to be in a fully functioning and working relationship.
Not for the long run anyway.
Not for the long run, especially not for marriage. I don't think that it's going to work out for marriage. With her, I think it works out a lot better because both her parents are present. And like I said, you can have dual partnership in parenting, mother and father, but the father may not be as present as far as his moral standings, as far as his teachings, as far as his wisdom. It's crazy because I just had this conversation with one of my homies the other night. He has 5 kids. He only has one daughter, right? Daughter's 13, 14 years old. And he's putting her on the game of, oh, well, this little boy said he loves me and you're in middle school. So it's like, okay, I'm going to tell you what he's going to do. He's going to do this, 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 this. All right. He does it. And then she goes, wow, Dad, you're right. So now her trust in her male partner later down the line is going to be, well, my dad knows better than anybody else how it went in the old days. You would bring that young man to the father. The father would vet him. Maybe the brothers would vet him too. And then we go, yeah, this guy's trash. Like, forget about him. Now, you may like him. You may think, well, he's a really nice guy and he's very handsome. But because your father's lived a life, he knows men because he is one. He's like, yo, that guy is not going to be good for you. That father relationship is important. I think the mother aspect is even more important for a woman because she teaches and supposed to teach you the ways of being feminine. The problem with the single mother is the woman has to teach you how to be feminine and masculine. But the problem is by teaching the masculine aspect, it's always indoctrinated with aggression because that's what typical women think that like men are supposed to be like. Well, men are aggressive, so you have to be like this. But it's always met with emotion, which is why if you look at young men that end up in prison, most of them stem from single mother households because they get taught the aggression of a man, but they get taught it with the emotionality of a woman.
Not having a role model, and I think similarly too, that's also why we're seeing a lot of issues with women is because a lot of them don't have strong male figures in their lives. And one of the things that is kind of sad is like the male figures that they have seen, if their mother has like a revolving door of men, their ideology and how they see men as like revolving doors, they just take expendable, they take but never give. They don't care because he might have cared a lot about me, showed up to my basketball games, showed up to my baseball games, and then the next thing I know he wasn't there anymore, which as a kid you don't really understand. As an adult, you can understand a little bit, but it still doesn't hurt any less than when you're a child.
And that's the tragedy. Is either you're exposing yourself to a life of being used sexually, or you're going to end up lonely. Okay. Unless you get a role model that teaches you otherwise, and you get a really good guy.
Why is it that the things that were important to you weren't materialistic?
I would say they're idealistic. Men also have a tangible, idealistic mindset when it comes to women too. Because my wife, she cooks, right? I don't think I could have married a woman that couldn't cook. My wife, she cleans. I clean the house too. And I would argue I clean the house better. But there are some tangibles for men too. I think most of the tangibles that they have don't derive from material because they obtain the material. So they don't consider women to be material because they're the ones that get the material. In that traditional mindset too, there's another aspect that got brought into relationships, and it's the social aspect, right? Okay. Like typically a middle-class man with a family, he could afford to do like expensive dinners and things like that, right? Nowadays, an expensive dinner, like we just went to brunch, okay? It was $80 for 2 people. Like insane.
Rod, you're being cheap, right?
What?
You being
$80 for $80 for brunch is
you don't love your woman.
Cheap?
You don't love your woman.
What are you talking about,
bro? I heard some videos, boy.
And you get to this is my point too. The average middle class American man couldn't even afford that. And you're talking about $200 for brunch?
And hey, don't forget the kids at home. They gotta eat too.
Oh, that's freaking crazy. Like that's insane to me. Where that man could have worked, his one job for 40 years, provided for his family, maybe, did an expensive brunch, an expensive lunch or whatever. That woman would have been satisfied. Now with the emergence of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you're seeing women go out to $200 brunch dates with her man. This is where that I need a 6 foot tall guy that makes $100,000 a year comes into play. Because if you ask a woman why they want that, they can't explain to you why. But the reason why is because of the social element. You want to be able to be seen in those expensive breakfasts and brunches and dinners and flights and traveling out of the country. That's really what you're looking for, that social prestige, which you're not going to get with a guy making $40,000 a year. The traditional man's mindset doesn't exist in today's marketplace because of how things have changed. Specifically, in my opinion, with social media, men have this like archaic, traditional tangibles, right? Like cooking, cleaning, things like that, right? Women's tangibles have changed dramatically. It used to go from a guy that could hold a job, a man that was brave, a man that was honorable, a man that had valor in his city or whatever. Now it's gone from that to, well, I want a guy that makes some good money. I want to be able to travel out the country. I want to be able to have expensive dinners, maybe have kids, but I mean, and even getting married that's going down too dramatically. So getting married and having kids, that's not even on anyone's plate anymore. I think that men's tangible driving factors have pretty much stayed the same over the 40 years, and the women's have changed.
So what's your solution?
My solution to all of this is put women back in the I think it starts with the family. I mean, that solves the prison system. If not that, I would say mandatory training for everyone. So like some type of military or martial arts, because that is going to instill and ingrain in you some type of restraint and mental prowess that you may not have had prior to taking it. I think that would change a lot of the hot-headedness and wanting to fight all the time. That's for men. For women, I think that the feminist movement has gone to an extent where I don't know if things can be changed per se, and I don't know if I would want them to change. I think women are in a good spot right now to think, right? To think more than the world that they had before. So like in the 80s, right, they had this world of peace, harmony, and I just want a man. Right now they're like, well, I don't really need a man. And yeah, I mean, men don't really need women except for procreation either. But I think the point that men have gotten to over the eons of being here is that we desire women because women can be very, very useful and things that we can't accomplish. And I think when women understand that point, that men can become very useful to derive their happiness as well, I think that could help. And then relationally, I mean, I we all just need a big hug. We all just need a big hug. I think once we all hug each other, we'll be straight. Actually, I think the biggest solution, now that I'm talking, because sometimes like things drop in my head, we need God back in the country, man.
I agree.
A lot of the things that people talk about in traditionalism and how relationships be, it's all scripturally based. And when we pull that out and we become more secular with it, then anybody's ideas go.
My thing about just biblical teachings in general is they are always counter to exactly how you feel, right? Like we had that conversation. It's like God told you men love your wives. It's like, I'm telling you this because
you ain't gonna do it. It's naturally for you to withhold love from your girl.
Yeah.
And wives respect your man. Well, why would he tell you to do that? Because it's your natural inclination to not give him respect.
Well, we see why now. The lack of respect and how that is just causing so much friction on both sides has just been.
And again, that just goes to what you value. Are you valuing a long-lasting relationship?
Thank you so much, broski. This is gonna be a long. How long are we talking? 50 minutes. It's gonna be fun.
Look, I feel like I can talk to you for hours. You know that we all been real close.
Anything you want to post your Instagram, your OnlyFans? What do you?
I was actually thinking about making an OnlyFans for a writing guild. I'm not getting on there shaking no cheeks or nothing like that. So. I'm definitely not about to do that. You guys can go follow me at _CardinalWolf_. I do have a book coming out called I Am Cardinal Wolf that'll be dropping probably sometime later this year. For all young men, I would highly recommend going to get this book when it comes out. but women can read it too. I think you'll be entertained. And yeah, that's about it.
You want to go ahead and you know how I end it.
Like, subscribe, share. See you on the next one. Peace.
Hey! Well done. Well done.